Last night, Conor McGregor had some words for Henry Cejudo following his loss to Aljamain Sterling. Henry has since responded to Conor and says that Conor doesn't have shit on his resume.
All right, here we go. Coach Mac Daddy in the place. Congrats, Funkmaster, great fight. I knew you were going to win that, my man. Easiest money I've ever made. I already went shopping in advance, had everything Gucci'd out. You know yourself, fresh gear. But come here, let me just put this down. Let me show you what's what, right? Coach Mac Daddy in the place. Show you what's popping. Okay, Henry, this one's for you, my man, right? Some of the things, oh my God, you blew my... I couldn't believe what I was seeing, right? So you were here like this, right? And you were doing this, and I was like, you were doing this little thing, and I was like, what the f*** is that? I've never seen nothing like it. This guy is a f***ing genius, yeah? So you were doing this really well, yeah? If you'd have just done it this way, man, you'd have clean shot, bro. You'd have took him to the cleaners, my man. But anyway, you know yourself, Coach Mike Daddy, I don't charge you a fee because I'm already set, yeah?
Man, Conor McGregor don't got on my resume. That's all I gotta say. You know, he's been stopped after a 3-year layoff. What I was able to do and compete, and then hearing the boos from the crowd once, you know, they announced the winner. I mean, that says a lot to me. But there's still levels, and I still know that I could get better too. But guys, like, even like, you know, selling this fight, like, it's okay, man. Bring the hate. Maybe it'll motivate me. You know, I'm not one of these guys that was just like, yeah, I'm a little pissed because I hate losing, but I love it. I love it. So thank you, Conor.
Daniel Cormier advises Francis Ngannou to just bite the bullet and re-sign with the UFC. On the DC and RC show, DC went on to say it sucks because Francis was the man and he leaves, and now it seems like the options are very limited. He responded to one championship this morning saying they're being two-faced, but I'm telling you, it felt like the same thing that was happening to Lamar. I'm watching teams like you don't have a quarterback, but you're not interested in Lamar Jackson. This guy was the MVP of the NFL. It made no sense. To me, it's the same thing, but ultimately Lamar Jackson ends up back with the Baltimore Ravens. I believe that's what Francis Ngannou should do. Francis Ngannou should just come back, because the reality is this: the money that he was offered, I've heard, was a very lucrative number. If he comes back, nothing changes. He walks right back into being in the heavyweight title picture, fighting for the championship, getting paid at that championship level. You sometimes just have to bite the bullet and go, you know what, I'm going to go back to what's familiar, because you and I both agree that there are some very dangerous fights for him in boxing. So while you may cash in one time, it may not be sustainable. And he's also 36 years old, so he doesn't have much time. He hasn't fought since last January. He's 36 years old. Time is of the essence for Francis Ngannou, so he needs to get busy. Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker goes down at UFC Fight Night on May 13th. Smith on the Believe You Me podcast says that he cannot lose to Johnny because he believes his stock will drop if he does.
Some guys, they force themselves to not think about the negative, like, well, what happens if this happens? What happens if I lose? I haven't even really considered that, because I've spent this entire training camp just worried about myself and the problems that Johnny Walker brings to the table. I think when you start inserting the man and the person is where the pressure would come in for me. Like, I can't lose to Johnny Walker. Like, I've said a lot of things about him in the past.
Is that how you feel? You can't lose to Johnny Walker?
I can't lose to Johnny Walker.
Do you feel that affects your stock if you do?
I do. I think it's less about my career, more like my public perception, to be honest with you. It's as far as like my career.
Am I reading this right? Because, listen, Johnny Walker burst onto the scene with a tremendous amount of hype and talent, right? The knockouts he was getting super early on, but then he's had mixed results. And this is what people used to say about him. Say, oh, Bisping, yeah, he was a great fighter, but any big fights or the truly elite, he couldn't beat them. Do you feel that the perception may be, and I don't want to put these doubts into your mind, but the perception might be, or if I lose to Johnny Walker, then people are going to start writing me off as a future champion?
Yeah, that 100%. And I've said those things about Johnny Walker. He is going to be able to beat a lot of those guys 5 to 15, like 5 and below, 6 and below, 7 and below. Yeah. He'll beat a lot of those guys. It's some of them it's a coin flip, and you know, he gets a little bit wild and crazy. He gets caught. He can catch people, but you know, him and guys like Ryan Spann have had a hard time busting into the elite level of the division. Well, Johnny Walker beats me, then that means I'm not in the elite level of the division. And that's a problem. That's a problem. And it's a little bit dangerous because he is one of those guys, but he is so athletic and so explosive and so fast and so big and strong that he could, you know, like if you let that guy slip behind the wire, he could knock out any of us in the top 5. And so like, it's a really that's where the pressure comes. It's just making sure that I don't do anything stupid. You know, that's if it's just.
Oh, I'm nervous for you, buddy. I can't wait.
Sean O'Malley on the Bro Malley Show gives his take on Francis Ngannou's current free agency situation. Sean thinks Francis f***ed up.
Issues with owner of one championship saying they couldn't see eye to eye with Francis Ngannou about money. So that's Bellator turned him down, UFC, bare knuckle, won. He's running out of options, and he's probably just asking for too much money. Imagine if he said, you know what, I'm just going to stay in the UFC, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to go out there, win 2 more fights, and then ask for more money from the UFC. The UFC would probably have been like, hell yeah, you're the fucking man of UFC. You got John Jones next, going to make $20 million off this pay-per-view because it's going to do $2 million back. Like,
Yeah, I was interested because the one guy, he said I didn't feel Francis and I were fully aligned on non-financial matters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is non-financial matters. So I wonder, just curious, maybe
that. I don't know.
But yeah, he has burned.
What the hell, non-financially, you want to fight in the one? Like what? No. Like what else would you want? Well, they didn't give me an extra airplane ticket.
No, I'm assuming.
Health insurance?
Yeah, my thoughts were something similar to what he was.
If you go out there and make a couple $1 million, you'll be all right.
Yeah, especially with one, I don't. Yeah, that was kind of confusing.
That is weird.
Because now, really, what does he have left? Boxing, and it still doesn't really sound like he's gonna get.
Who's gonna box him? None of these big boxers are gonna go box him because he's not. It's different if you box the UFC champ or if you box a guy that no one else will sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. There's probably not very much, as much interest in there.
It's over 400 days, I think I saw before Francis's last fight.
Oh, that sucked.
Tony Ferguson has been arrested for a DUI. TMZ reports Tony apparently crashed his pickup truck into 2 parked cars outside a Hollywood club just before 2 a.m. His truck flipped on its side. Miraculously, he was not injured, nor was anyone else. Tony refused to take a field sobriety test and was quote-unquote very uncooperative at the scene. According to sources, the cops said that he reeked of alcohol and had bloodshot eyes. Tony was arrested at the scene and is facing misdemeanor DUI. He is also facing license suspension for refusing to take the sobriety test. So Tony actually crashed into a rapper's cars. The rapper goes by the name of Cash Gotti. Gotti says that he came out of the club and found his Mercedes destroyed. Dana White also had an encounter with the police today. Dana posted this to his Instagram story. He wrote, "Just landed back in Vegas."
Welcome home. Back in Vegas.
And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post future ones. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Robert Sterling. Says not even a fan of Marab, but him putting on Sean's jacket and jumping on top of the cage was funny AF. The second one's from Mr. Handsome Boy Now. It says, feel bad for Gilbert. Such unfortunate timing for an injury. And the final one says, I don't celebrate another man's loss. 2015 Conor McGregor. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured on the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. If you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen to get caught up. And make sure to go subscribe to our second channel where we post our exclusive MMA interviews.